Does your team feel broken right now? People show up when they want to, turnovers through the roof, and results aren't where they need to be. And all of it is making your job way harder than it should be. Well, Vince Lombardi walked into a similar situation. The Green Bay Packers had just gone one win, 10 losses, and one tie. Then, in his very first year, he brought them to 7 wins and 5 losses. But over the course of the next 8 years, he gave them 5 NFL championships and victories in Super Bowls 1 and 2. So what changed? Well, last week I introduced you to my coaching team. People have mentored me through their books. Today we're learning from one of my first mentors, Vince Lombardi. Early in my management career, I read What It Takes to Be Number One and When Pride Still Mattered. And there are 3 lessons from Lombardi that I think every manager trying to turn around a struggling team needs to understand. But the very first one starts with you. When you walk into a struggling team, it's easy to start pointing at everybody else. They don't care. They've got bad attitudes. No one's holding them accountable. They don't even know how to work together. Well, maybe. But before you start changing everybody, look at the person leading them. Are you consistent? Do you follow through? Do people know what to expect from you? And do you hold everyone to the same standard? Do you tolerate something Monday and then complain about it Friday? Lombardi said, winning is a habit, but unfortunately, so is losing. That applies to managers too. How you prepare becomes a habit. How you communicate becomes a habit. Following up becomes a habit. Walking past problems becomes a habit. Keeping your word becomes a habit. And eventually your habits start becoming the team's culture. That is why I always come back to lead yourself first. You can't expect discipline from a team while modeling inconsistency yourself. When Lombardi first arrived in Green Bay, he told the team, "I've never been on a losing team, gentlemen, and I don't intend to start now." Now think about that. The record had not changed, the players hadn't changed, but the expectation had. Now here's where it gets a little bit harder. You can raise the standard, you can model the right behavior, you can become the leader they need, and your team can still keep losing. Because showing people the standard does not mean they know how to reach it. And that's why lesson 2 matters even more. Now, lesson 2, Lombardi was demanding. But what gets missed is that he was a teacher. Now, think about your struggling team. People show up late, handoffs are sloppy, and communication breaks down. New employees barely even know what they're doing. Nobody follows up, and eventually the manager says, well, they should know better. But here's the harder question. Did you teach them better? Lombardi's approach was built around fundamentals, repetition, and execution. He said, they call it coaching, but it is teaching. You don't just tell them, you have to show them the reasons. Now that is a leadership lesson that stands the test of time. Don't just tell somebody what they did wrong, show them what right looks like. Teach it, demonstrate it, coach it, recognize it, correct it, and then do it again. Because dysfunctional teams usually have dysfunctional habits, and habits are changed through repetition. You don't turn a team around with one motivational speech, you don't fix it with one email, and you definitely don't fix it with another poster in the break room. You change what people do every day. Lombardi told his players they were going to relentlessly pursue perfection, knowing they would never fully reach it, but that in the pursuit, they could reach excellence. Bart Starr remembered Lombardi finishing that message with, "I'm not even remotely interested in just good." I like that distinction. Not perfection, but excellence. A little better execution, a little better communication, a little better preparation, a little better follow through, day after day. Now that's how losing habits get replaced by winning ones. But there's still a problem. You can have the right leader and the right habits and still have a losing team. Because there's one thing that you've not changed yet, what they believe about themselves. Now, without lesson 3, the first 2 are going to stall. Now, lesson 3, if you lose long enough and something happens, losing stops feeling temporary. It starts feeling normal. Then normal becomes your identity. You hear, well, this place has always been like this. Nobody stays here. We always have turnover. These people just don't care. We've tried that before, and eventually, this is just who we are. Now, that may be the hardest thing for a manager to change because now you aren't fixing a process, you're changing a belief. Now, Lombardi understood that confidence mattered. He said confidence is contagious, but so is a lack of confidence. Your team feels yours. If every day you talk about how terrible the employees are, how bad turnover is, how tired you are, and how nothing ever changes, eventually you reinforce the exact culture that you're trying to fix. So start giving people evidence that something's changing. Then you'll see attendance improve. Show them. Turnover comes down. Talk about it. Quality improves. Celebrate it. Someone steps up. Recognize them. Those aren't meaningless little wins. They're proof. And proof creates belief. Belief creates confidence. And guess what? Confidence creates momentum. And eventually people stop saying, well, this is how we've always been. And they start saying, this is what we do here. That is culture changing. And here's one more thing that I love about Lombardi. Now, he demanded a lot from his players, but accountability was not just something he pushed downward. After Green Bay lost the 1960 NFL championship, Lombardi took responsibility for the loss rather than dumping it on his players. Now, that matters because great managers do both. High accountability on the team, but high accountability for themselves. And maybe that's the biggest lesson Lombardi leaves us as managers. You may not get to choose the team you inherit, but you absolutely influence the team it becomes. So let me ask you, which one does your team need most right now? Better leadership, better habits, or more belief? Put it in the comments because I'd like to know. And if you're thinking, Todd, hey, this sounds great, but nobody's teaching me how to become that kind of manager. Well, that's exactly what I talked about in the last video, because your company may not train you, your boss may not mentor you, but you don't have to wait on them to get better. Click the video on the screen right now, and I'll show you how to start developing yourself even when your company gives you no support. I'll see you over there.